Okay, we want to reduce each of these, if possible, to this form. Turns out I think one of them is possible, one of them can't be reduced to that form. So we start with 3, 4, 1, 9, 5, 3. And then we multiply the first row by 1/3, and we get 1, 4/3, 1/3. And we leave the second row unchanged. And then we take -9 times the first row and add to the second. So we do -9 times the first row. And note that I write that down here across from the second row because that's where this result is going to go. We don't want to write it up here because that fails to convey where that new row is going to be written. Even though it might be obvious if you look a little harder, you don't want to have to reverse engineer what you write down. So -9 times 1 is -9, added to 9 is 0. -9 times 4/3 is -36/3, which is -12, added to 5 gives you 7. -9 times 1/3 is -3, added to 3. Turns out that gives you 0. Okay? Now, I might be doing, a little error prone. It's getting kind of late, so watch me. But that gives us 1 4/3, 1/3, and 0 1 0. Now, why did I do that? Well, I'm trying to get this. Okay? And I can get this by getting a 1 here and then a 0 here. And then I get a 1 here and a 0 here. I do it in that order as we've indicated. And I'll have to write this off to the right, but this is the second row times 1/2. And then in order to get a 0 here, which is what we're after, we do and let me modify what I did here. It's not just -9 times the first row, it's -9 times the first plus the second, right? So -9 times is added to this. And here we're doing 1/2 times the second row. No, sorry. Here we did 1/2 times the second row. Here we're doing -4/3 times the second row added to the first. And we're not doing anything with the second row, so we don't bother writing that down. And what we get then is 1, because -4/3 times 0, of course, is 0, so we have nothing to add to 1. It's going to give us a 0 here. And it looks like it's going to give us just 1/3 here. So that was a rather easy addition. And what does this say? Okay, this says, well, first of all, the original (3x plus 4y equals 1, 9x plus 5y equals 3) has the solution that's indicated by this, okay? And that's going to be x equals 1/3, y equals 0. And you can plug those in and see that that works. If x is 1/3, 3x is 1, y is 0, that's 0, so you get 1 equals 1. 9 times 1/3 is 3. 5 times 0 is 0. 3 and 0 gives you 3. Checks out. Okay, now, second equation. You have 4, 1, 5, 16, 4, 7. So you take the first equation that we're going to do down here. First equation times 1/4. Going to give us 1, 1/4, 5/4. And we've still got 16, 4, 7. And then what? -16 times the first equation plus the second. So let's see, -16 times 1 is -16 added to 16. Let's write this one down. -16 added to 16 is 0. And negative 16 times 1/4 is negative 4, added to 4, that gives us 0. Well, we're making good progress, aren't we? Okay, so we've already got a 1 here. Uh-oh, wait, we got a 0 here where we're supposed to have a 1. Well, it turns out there's no way around that. We're just stuck with it. And then negative 16 times 5/4 is negative 20, added to 7 is negative 13. Well, that's what we get. And there's no way around it. If we add a multiple of the first row to the second row in order to get a 0 here, we're going to get a 0 here as well. Now, why is that? Well, it's because 1 divided by 4 is the same as 4 divided by 16. Now, these two lines stand for equations, this being the coefficient of y, this being the coefficient of x, so that dividing this by this gives us, turns out to be the negative of the slope. You can verify that. So that this equation, if graphed, will have the same slope as this equation. But you get 0, 0, negative 13 here. This asserts that 0 equals 13. That's false. Okay? Meaning that these two equations don't pass through any of the same points. They're parallel lines. Okay? Now, the equations we get here, of course, 4x plus y equals 5, 16x plus 4y equals 7. They're incompatible. Okay. Any solution to this one is not a solution to this one, and vice versa. This is equivalent to x plus 1/4 y equals 5. You know, I said that I did the slope in the wrong direction when I did that, but we'll correct it. And 0 equals negative 13. These two equations, since this one is untrue, are simply untrue. Now, that means, well, it just means that no solutions the graphs don't intersect. Parallel lines with different intercepts, and we've already talked about that. Okay, now this is important because this can occur and this gives you a lot of information, and there's a lot you can do to follow this up. We can say here, this is the same as y equals negative 4x plus 5. This is the same as y equals negative 4x plus 7/4. Okay? Same slope, different y-intercepts, no intersection. That's important to understand this. If you don't think about it, research it. It's right there in the basic problems you've been given, the introductory problems with all kinds of solutions. So we're just trying to reinforce that.